Hello and welcome to Around the Wicket on ThePapare.com. As you know, we focus our attention on cricket, and when we say cricket, both locally and internationally. Now we first take a look at the SLC, and the news coming through is that the SLC is looking at launching a soft skills program for their players. Now I think this is a very needed program, particularly for young cricketers coming in from the outstations, and they're covering 11 areas. Interestingly, they're looking at covering areas such as general English, presentation skills, finance, management, IT skills, and various other things. And I believe a cricketer will definitely benefit out of a program such as this, because the modern cricketer is expected to face the media, expected to talk to the media, expect to understand things, and also when he goes up the ladder, he starts earning money. So he also needs to know how to manage his finances. So the cricket board should be commended for starting a program such as this, particularly to the younger cricketers coming from the outstation, part of the A team, who are part of the development squad, and also who are centrally contracted. And more news from SLC, and Jonty Rhodes, as you know, in case you haven't heard, one of the finest fielders the world have seen, South African batsman, played in the 90s. He's here as a specialist fielding coach for 10 days to work with the Sri Lankan national team and the coaches, as well as working with the development squad and the younger cricketers. Now that's very, very good news, because if you watch the World Cup, the Sri Lankan fielding left much to be desired, and lots of people did feel that the Sri Lankans were a little bit slow. And when you talk about fielding, you know that every part, or every, I should say, category of cricket, be Test cricket, T20 cricket, one-day cricket, you need fielding, because fielding wins you matches. And today, when you talk of one-day and T20 cricket, with the 30-yard circle, you'll expect fielders to come in and try and stop singles, take catches. So fielding is very important. New techniques keep coming in. So you need to keep abreast with what's happening in the world around you. So Jonty Rhodes coming here is a wonderful decision, and Sri Lanka cricket should be commended for that. Now, more good news for all cricket fans. You need to keep a date, because the Pakistan national team is touring Sri Lanka for a full tour. They're going to play a test series, a one-day series, and also T20 cricket. So lots of cricket, and India is expected to follow. So the Sri Lankans will be in for a period of some very exciting cricket. Pakistan, India touring here, Asian giants taking on Sri Lanka after the World Cup, and a big moment for young Sri Lankans coming through, particularly the fringe players, because you know Mahela Jayawardene doesn't play Test cricket anymore. Kumar Sangakkara may not play the entire series. We've heard that he might play 2 or 3 or maybe 4 test matches out of the possible 6 between India and Pakistan. So we will have to, not between India and Pakistan, I should say Sri Lanka versus Pakistan and Sri Lanka versus India when they tour. So the fringe players will have a huge opportunity. And what about players like Jehan Mubarak, and what about players like Chanaka Velagedra? I think these players also need to be looked at least in that opening practice game, because these guys are the players who have done extremely well when it came to the Sri Lanka domestic scene. Velagedra had a T20 bowling record, Mubarak had back-to-back thousands. So all these players are putting their hands up, and it's a good time. It's a positive headache for the Sri Lankan selectors to have so many options to pick from. So no doubt Pakistan, Sri Lanka will be a very, very interesting series. Now Sri Lanka A Pakistan just concluded their 3-match test series, the unofficial test series. As you know, the test series ended in a draw, high scoring draw, but there were some positives that the Sri Lankan A could have taken, the Sri Lankan management could have taken. Kitruan Vitanage, Kusal Pereira, they both got over 300 runs. Now these are the 2 players who are being thought of very seriously to play test cricket, because these 2 players have played for Sri Lanka. Kitruan has already played Test cricket. So these 2 players will be vying for selection come the series against Pakistan. And also Tarindu Kaushal. Now he excites me. You need to take a look at the way he bowls. He's a fine off spinner, bowls with a nice action, and he also turns the ball, and he bowls at a brisk pace. Now that's the difference in Tarindu Kaushal, and he has a good variety. He bowls a good doosra. Now this young man who played under 19 for Sri Lanka could be a big name in the next 4 or 5 years. So we are going to keep a close tab and a close look on Tarindu Kaushal and how he performs in his career as he progresses. He's very young, in case you didn't know, he's just in his early 20s, and I believe that he will be a big name for Sri Lanka cricket. Lahiru Gamage played for Sri Lanka in India in the one-day series. He impressed. I'm not very sure whether he will play in the test series against Pakistan, but he might be one of those knocking on the door in the one-day series. Lahiru Gamage, of course, is not out and out quick, but he's played under 19 cricket. He's not a youngster by any means. He's in his 20s. He's a useful seam bowler who swings the ball, and he can get you wickets. So he might be vying for the one-day series, but I'm not very sure whether he will be playing the test series. Now, Sangakkara and Rangana Herath continues to make headlines for Sri Lanka. It was just recently in the SIAT Cricket Awards of 2015, Kumar Sangakkara was crowned the International Cricketer of the Year. Rangana Herath, who lived under the shadow of Muthaiya Muralidharan for a very long time, has been very correctly crowned the SIAD International Bowler of the Year. Now, Sangakkara, I've been told, is batting absolutely brilliantly in England for Surrey, and all of us are very worried about the fact that Kumar Sangakkara is also going to retire, with Mahela Jayawardene retiring, and Tilakaratne Dilshan expected to call it a day any time from T20 and one-day cricket. But have you spared a thought for Rangana Herath? Now, he's been the man who's been carrying Sri Lanka's bowling. Now, when Rangana Herath decides to call it a day, Sri Lanka needs to find a replacement. But I can tell you, at the moment, we don't have any. We just don't have any who can get wickets. I'm hoping, from a Sri Lankan cricket point of view, that Tarindu Kaushal will be the man who will put his hand up. But he needs experience, he needs support, and he needs to be persisted with, and he also needs exposure. So this is a worrying factor. Let's hope Rangana Herath stays fit. He's got huge issues with his knees, and he needs to be looked after. I don't think Sri Lanka should really be looking at playing him in T20 cricket and one-day cricket, but he should be really persisted more on Test cricket and the occasional T20 and the one-day game, because that's in Sri Lanka cricket's best interest. Well, let's now go across and look at the international scene. Now, I know you're surprised. I know you're surprised because England beat New Zealand. Now, just try and refocus on that test match. England were 30 for 4, and then they recovered to 380, and then what did New Zealand do? They got over 500 runs. But that's where England's young guns put their hands up. Now, is Ben Stokes, now that's my next question, is Ben Stokes going to be the next Ian Botham? Now, England have been hoping that lots of these young cricketers would emulate Ian Botham. But somebody had said, before he becomes Ian Botham, he needs to be Freddie Flintoff. And there have been a few imitations also. But I think Ben Stokes seemed to be the closest to what a young Ian Botham looked like, because he had a majestic 100, the fastest 100 at Lord's in the second innings, and equally swashbuckling 90 in the first innings, bowled with good pace. Now, in case you saw him bowl, I'm sure you'll agree that the ball that got Brendan McCullum in the second innings, first ball, was an absolute peach of a delivery, just swung back and clipped the stumps as Brendan McCullum had to play. Now, the Englishman knew that the best way of getting McCullum out was with an in-swinger, and Ben Stokes was able to produce it. And England won a fascinating test match, beating New Zealand by 130-odd runs, 124 runs, in fact, when New Zealand had to chase down in the fourth inning. So that was a great effort by England, and it's good for Alistair Cook as well, because he got 100. His position was on the line in case England lost that test match with Peter Moores being asked to go. And also now with a new coach coming in, Trevor Bayliss, taking over the English reins and joining Paul Fabres, I think England will be a real force to reckon with come the Ashes. And more importantly, I believe Trevor Bayliss' CV suggests that he's a very good coach in the one-day and the T20 format of the game. Now, England have been rather poor in that format, and now that could be encouraging news for England, because Trevor Bayliss has had a good record with Sri Lanka, with Kolkata Knight Riders, and generally he's been a good coach. Pakistan, Zimbabwe. Well, Pakistan's getting very excited. They've beaten Zimbabwe in the T20 series and they are in front in the one-day series too. But the important thing as far as Pakistan is concerned, they've got an international team coming in to Pakistan after 6 years. Now that is something really that the country, Pakistan, will be very happy about, because after that Lahore bombing, Pakistan needed international cricket to come back, and lots of teams were questioning as to whether the security in Pakistan is really up to the level they expect. But this series against Zimbabwe, played at Lahore at the Gaddafi Stadium, they're not moving about. That's for security reasons. At least Zimbabwe, not a top-notch nation, but Pakistan are grateful to them for touring. And we've heard that Pakistan is expecting that Sri Lanka will tour Pakistan next year. Now that's going to be a tough ask. The Sri Lankan cricketers who are on that tour might want to think about 10 times, not twice, about 10 times before they decide to make up their mind to go there. But having said that, didn't Sri Lanka also go through this situation? Terrorism, bombing, at one stage teams refusing to come, teams turning back, and the cricket fan and the game of cricket tends to suffer, and that's what has happened to Pakistan too in Pakistan. And finally, the Mumbai Indians have won the IPL. What a fairy tale it has been. Mumbai Indians had a very poor start under Rohit Sharma. They lost their first 4 games. Lasith Malinga was taken apart. Everybody just wrote them off. But didn't they come back? Now that's what I call quality. It's a team of quality players who got together, worked hard, and Lasith Malinga proved to the world that he's still the best when it comes to T20 cricket. Well, talking about best, I'm sure you know that ThePapare is the best when it comes to sports. So we'll join you again next week. For the moment, it's goodbye.